Hello and welcome, my friends. Today I'm going to very quickly show you guys the best render settings for Vegas Pro 15. So let's jump right into it, man. After you've got your videos all set up and on your timeline and all lined up how you want to, you're going to go to File, Render As, and then you're going to pick the right template. This is the number one most important thing for you to do. So what is the right template? It may be a little bit overwhelming to see all these different kinds that you can go for. What's the best quality to video size to render speed ratio that you can get? And honestly, it's kind of odd because you get the fastest speed, some of the best quality, and some of the lowest quality or some of the lowest file size, all with these two render methods right here. So you've got the two magic methods. They know by this point that a lot of gamers use Vegas Pro to render, and a lot of gamers use MP4 because it goes very well for the internet, especially for YouTube videos and videos that you're going to upload. So they designed an encoder specifically for us, which is awesome. Thank you. Um, so there's two of them here. The AVC is going to be a slightly larger file size than the HEVC, but I don't notice a difference in quality. So if you're extremely concerned about quality, well, larger file size probably means that you're getting better quality, but I don't see a difference. So I use Magic's HEVC AAC4 or AAC MP4. It's a mouthful, guys, I know. Now, when you're rendering, what you want to do is you want to render in a form that says NVENC next to it. Now, I have a NVIDIA graphics card, so it's going to say NVIDIA NVENC. I believe that if you have an AMD graphics card, it might say AMD or something NVENC. And you definitely want to render with one of these next to it because it's going to make your render speed so gosh darn fast. It's going to be amazing, trust me. So, what I have right now is I have a 1 minute video in my timeline. It's just one simple little minute. We're going to actually do a quick test here to see how long it takes to render. One thing that I do want to point out, though, is that a lot of people, they're recording in 30, 40, maybe 50 frames per second, and then all of a sudden they're rendering in 60 frames per second, and it doesn't end up making your video quality better. It just doubles the frame rate of frames that are already there and doesn't make it look any different. So what you want to do is you want to look at the frame rate of your video. So on my project preview right here, I can actually see the frame rate of my video currently. If you want to, you can also hit properties, go to, I believe it's in media. Go to media and you can see the frame rate of your video as well. Oh, here it is in the undersample rate, 45.552. So there's multiple ways to do it. But anyways, for 45 frames per second, well, I don't want to render in 40 because then I'm going below what I already have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I should render in 50 frames per second. If you are only getting 35, well, maybe you should render in 40 frames per second. You need to go crazy with it. So for the purpose of this video, though, I am going to render in 60 frames per second. If you don't see NVIDIA NVENC right here, or if you don't see NVENC, what you want to do is you want to update your graphics card drivers. That is almost guaranteed to be the issue there. If not, it's probably going to end up being the fact that you have an old graphics card or a graphics card that's not going to work with Vegas Pro 15. So this is going to be kind of fun to check out. I always recommend, guys, make sure you go over here and you check out your processor and see what's going on. So click the task manager with Control Alt Delete, pop up the task manager, and check out the performance of what your computer is actually doing. You can see how much memory Vegas Pro is using to render. You can see the jump right here. So I went from basically 0. I don't know how it was down to 0, but I went to from a fairly low amount to about 24% of my memory up to 7.7 gigs. So as my CPU is concerned, I'm only using about 38% of it. So what this means for me is that I can actually render 2 or maybe even 3 instances of Vegas Pro at once to get the 100% out of my CPU right here. So it's just very interesting to look at that. You may be looking at my my graphics card over here and saying, oh, it's only up to 14%. Like, what's going on with that thing? Why isn't it using 100% of your graphics card? Or why isn't it using a combination of your GPU and graphics card? Well, believe it or not, it's actually faster for me, may not be for you, to turn off graphics uh, encoding. What was it called? So I took 1 minute and 6 seconds. What is it called? Let's go to the options, go to preferences. I'm going to go to video right here. The acceleration of video processing. I actually turn that off because it ends up making my renders even slower. So it's great to test it out for your PC and see if it's going to help out. You can easily just check this guy out and turn it on for a second. But personally, it does not help me. So check it out for yourself. Just do a 1 minute video and do a test render. It works wonderfully. So that's the main way to speed up your render, guys, is just to make sure you're rendering in the right format and make sure you're using NVENC if you've got Vegas Pro 15. It's going to speed up your render so gosh darn much. On top of being able to render multiple videos at once. I was just rendered a 22-minute video and it took me 15 minutes to render, which I think is just absolutely redonkulous. Beyond that, though, there are a couple other ways to increase your render speed, but honestly, they're really not very important at all. I see that a lot of people saying that this is going to help, and it honestly has not helped me out. So what you can do is you can press Control-Alt-Delete, go to your task manager again, but instead of going to processor or performance, go all the way over to details. And then what you can do is head on down to wherever your Vegas Pro is, and you can right-click it and go to your priority. Turn the priority up to high. Change priority, baby. Boom, boom. And then you can see if it's going to end up changing your render time at all. So we can try rendering again. Let's see if it speeds it up at all. Same thing, untitled, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if it speeds it up at all. If it's right around 1 minute and some odd seconds here again, well, we know it's really not speeding it up all that much. Personally, I would just recommend leaving it on high, but it's not super duper important. The last thing is sort of unimportant, but don't leave a bunch of crappy video and audio timeline things open, especially if you have crap. I'm just gonna stop the render here. What are they called? Video tracks and audio tracks. If you've got a bunch of these guys, it's gonna slow down your render. If you've got a lot of random videos where you're just like, well, you know what? I don't really want to delete this thing, but I'm going to fade it out or turn the opacity down to 0. It's still going to render that thing, but in 0% opacity, which is like, you don't want to do that, you know? Even if you have multiple things on top of each other, it's still going to render that. So try and get rid of as many things that are unnecessary as possible, and that'll increase your render times as well. That's all I got for you guys today. Just try and limit the amount of extra stuff that you don't need on top of here. Make sure you're using the NVENC encoder, and make sure you're recording in the right frames per second and rendering in the right frames per second. Just render in whatever your raw format already is, because a lot of the times you will have variable frame rates, guys. You're not going to have solid frame rates of exactly 50 or exactly 60. It's a lot of times going to be variable. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you press that like button for me. I'd appreciate that a bunch. And of course, have a super duper delicious day.